Stand by to launch FanStream Sports.
3, 2, 1. Let's start.
Hello, sports fans. Welcome to FanStream Sports. Nothing but pure sports. This is the JP Show.
JP, it is so good to hear you back on the air.
Stand by. Now, here's JP.
All righty, welcome into a Thursday edition of the JP Peterson Show. It's a Halloween edition of the JP Peterson Show. I was, contemplating doing my Ron Burgundy for the whole show. Then I was just going to show some snippets, but the file will not download, so you're saved from that absolute tragedy of a Halloween costume. But good morning to you, Nick Geddes from On3 Sports. How are you?
I'm doing good. Oh, sorry. I'm doing good.
Yeah,
I realized
the old loop is on there.
Yeah, I see that here. Working with new technology this morning. But yeah, good morning to you. Happy Halloween to those who observe. I see you shaved the mustache you had going there.
Yeah, Ashley
That's a shame.
shaved the porn
That's
stash.
a shame. That's a shame.
Yeah, I can't do that. It'll be back. The goatee will be back in 3 days. Don't worry. Hopefully.
I know this is weird. You're like completely you look younger.
I do look.
You look younger. Look at that.
Yeah, because there's no gray mustache. I got to do the do all the lead-ins and everything for our Bucs pregame show on WMOR TV Monday night. Make sure you tune in 7 to 8 o'clock. Our all Bucs centric Monday night football pregame show. Don't watch those other clowns. You don't need to watch those clowns at ESPN. Watch us. We got tons of an hour long of Bucs content, so join us for that on Monday night WMOR TV. I was supposed to fly to Kansas City to do that whole deal. But and we were supposed to air the game on WMOR, but the NFL 2 weeks before we were supposed to air our first game, but the Ravens pulled the plug. So we thank them. But we're still going forward with our pregame show. So check it out to get some real local content. How about that? I don't know if 28 will be carrying the game locally on Monday night. So you don't have to have whatever cable or download whatever app you need, ESPN Plus or whatever it's on, so you can watch it on over the air, free over the air TV. How about that? I don't know if they're doing a pregame show or not, but we are. So there you go with that. We got lots to get to this morning. We're going to talk some Lightning. Big win last night. A lot of things happened in case you missed it out in Colorado last night. That one was on FanDuel, so most of you hopefully saw that. We'll get to the Bucs and Chiefs. Very interesting matchup this week. Did some deep dive on the numbers on that, and we'll get into some of those. We still don't know exactly what the injury situation is going to be. We'll find out more today because it's the Thursday practice is the usual Wednesday practice when you're doing the Monday night schedule. So we'll get the hopefully get the update on who will and will not play. I mean, I don't think there should be any huge surprises this week. Hopefully Tyke Smith will be back. I think that's one of the keys that we're looking at. Who else? We'll see when the injury report comes out. So we'll get to Bucs and Chiefs. We got the World Series to talk about last night, a big choke by the Yankees. That was fun to watch. And, of course, we'll hit college football as well. Pat Burnham will join us at 10:30 to talk some Florida State. We'll recap the debacle that was the Miami game. It's actually not as bad as I thought it was going to be, quite frankly. But we'll look ahead to the North Carolina games coming up this weekend, which I will be attending. My first FSU game in Tallahassee. Yeah, I stomached up.
Good luck.
I figured this one, if who was it that beat North Carolina by like 30? Toledo or somebody, some scrub team?
Some scrub. There's been some scrubs taking their turns with North Carolina.
Yeah, well, the scrubs taking their turns with FSU too. So we'll hope that maybe they can find a dub there at home. They get one home win this year. Or they beat Cal. So that monumental win over Cal. So we'll get all that. And whatever you guys want to bring to the table, we will chat about it. You see John Hill and Nathan Elliott in this morning. Good morning to you guys. Let's go. Who do the Cyclones have this weekend, Johnny? What are they? They're in the top 10 now, aren't they? The Fighting.
They're in the they're like number 9, I think, right now. 9 or 10.
Going to the playoff. Let's go. Let's go, Fighting Cyclones.
They got Texas Tech this week. So there you go.
That's right. Yeah. All right. So that should be a dub. That should be another dub for them. All right, so let's get it rolling here on this Halloween Eve. We'll talk some Halloween costumes too, and Nick will lament how he hates Halloween. So you're not going to have candy for the kids? You're going to be one of those turn off the lights, go in the back.
Absolutely.
So
absolutely. Home. Absolutely. Don't bother me. Don't bother me today.
Why
Don't bother me. We were even at Walmart last night. And full disclosure, I also hate Walmart. Hate it. When you go into Walmart, I feel like I need to take a shower when I get home. That's how Walmart makes me feel.
It all depends on what Walmart you go to.
Well,
there's some that are a little bit more nasty than others.
I agree. But that's neither here nor there.
Rank your Tampa Bay Walmarts, folks. Right?
Yeah.
Send it in
rank
the comments.
The Tampa Bay Walmarts.
Yeah. I was just in a Gandy Walmart twice in this past week. The Gandy Walmart's not bad. I like that Walmart.
I'm sure the Gandy Walmart's fine, but
Very
you know
nice.
the Gibsonton Walmart isn't exactly a five-star establishment. Let me tell you that right now. But anyway,
what could be.
But we walked right in though, and
your own hands there.
We walked right in, and there was all this like Halloween candy to our left, and my wife was like, "Oh, we should grab some for all the kids in the neighborhood. We'll at least put out like a little thing." And I was like, "We're not wasting money on that. Like, no, absolutely not.
What?
We're not doing any of this. I'm not.
Is there a Halloween Grinch? Because if there was, you'd be it.
Halloween. I'm Halloween with the Cranks. You remember the Christmas with?
Oh yeah.
Halloween with that, whatever you want to call it. I'm not observing Halloween this year. I have spent $0 on Halloween. No, I am not observing. I hate Halloween. I hated it as a kid, and I think I hate it even more.
How do you hate it as a kid? How? Oh,
JP,
dude,
let me ask you a question. Let me ask
you.
Is this surprising to you?
Candy.
Is this surprising to you one bit that I did not want to go up and have to ask somebody, "Can I please have candy? Trick or treat?"
You don't even have to ask. They just give it to you. They throw it at you.
No.
It's like the least intimidating human interaction possible. And you can't even handle that?
No.
My Lord, son.
Nope.
Lord. It's free. What kid hates free candy?
Just never liked it.
Lord.
Never liked it. I don't even know if I've ever had like a legit like costume after I was like a little kid. I started just dressing up as Bucs players. I kid you not.
Yeah,
I was Rondé one year. I was Mike one year.
That doesn't even count anymore. You can't, because guys wear jerseys just as their regular wear. So you can't, it's not a costume anymore. Now, unless you put on the shoulder pads and the helmet, then you get credit. But
I had the helmet.
Shoulder pads
I had the helmet. They used back in the day, JP, they used to make them in like a little combo pack.
Yeah.
Where it would come with the jersey and they had the pants and everything.
Yes.
Now and
that's
the helmet.
A costume. Okay, that's a costume. Because wearing a jersey is not a costume. That does not count.
Agreed.
Does not count. So you never even wore costumes as a kid?
I think I was a teenage.
You get the highly flammable Spider-Man costume or something?
I'm pretty sure I was like a teenage mutant Ninja Turtle. Maybe when I was like really young. I think I was Woody once or Bob the Builder back in the day. But after that, I
can see you as Bob the Builder.
I was a big Bob the Builder guy. Big Bob. Yeah. Love a wrench in my hands.
Bob the Builder.
But no, I just started wearing just sports stuff then after that. And then I think very soon after I stopped trick-or-treating. So call me the Halloween screw. The anti-spook is John Hill. I'm the anti-spook.
You are the anti-spook. Yes. Yeah. That is that's deplorable. That's garbage. That's terrible. I can't even believe that. That's so bad. But I'll look forward to it tonight. The little kids, we got a nice, beautiful neighborhood here. The kids will be coming around, so we'll be handing out candy, doing the whole thing. The thing that was interesting for me last year in this neighborhood is that when we walked around, and probably for about an hour and a half all around the neighborhood, I probably heard 7 or 8 different languages, and none of them were English. Like none of them. And I was just kind of startled, like, wow, this is really interesting. There's a lot of different, it is definitely a melting pot without question. And that, which, and I find the same thing when I go to stores and everywhere. There are so many people from other places. Now, I'm not saying that's a bad thing. There are some bad people that come in. Absolutely. No question about that. I'm not for open borders, but there are so many different people in different languages. And it's actually kind of cool. And you try to see like what kind of languages, what are they speaking? A lot of Portuguese here, a lot of Slavic languages that I can't even identify. So we'll see all kinds of people tonight. Absolutely. It'll be fun. I'm looking forward to it. I don't know what the kids are wearing though. We'll have to see what the costumes are, but I'm definitely not dressing up as Ron Burgundy now that my stash is gone. All right. So let's get to the lightning from last night. And Vasilevsky was dressed up like Vasilevsky of old last night. Oh my God.
He had his big cat costume on.
He had his big cat costume on with the Stanley Cups. That guy, holy shiz. The Lightning broke out to a 3-0 lead last night on 3 really sweet goals in the first 5.5 minutes. It was fun to watch. It really was, against a very good Colorado team that started slow, then won 5 in a row. Very good team. And the second goal, Kucherov, the drop. Well, the first goal was Pointer just and there's Kucherov at the top of the circles in the middle of the ice, just standing there with his stick up saying, yeah, right now. And Point feeds him like a one hopper, and he takes it off the first hop and just absolutely blasts it into the top corner. I mean, it's just unbelievable shot. I don't know how you do that. It wasn't a pass that just slid across the ice right on the tape. His stick is up. He takes a one hopper and just smokes it into the back of the net. For I believe was 9th goal of the year. Unbelievable start for Kucherov. And then 2 minutes later, he skates down the right side, skates past the entire defense, and 2 of them go with Kucherov behind the net. And he just drops the pass right like behind him at the back corner. And Gensel is following him all the way, knows exactly what he's going to do. And as he goes around the back of the net, he drops the pass behind him. And Gensel's right there for a wide open net. And Kakinen, the goalie last night for the Avalanche, who just got picked up on waivers, he's looking to his right, like he's waiting for Kucherov to come around, and the puck's already in the back of the net. And Gensel has just this wry smile on his face, like that was the easiest goal I'll ever score. That kind of reminds me a little bit of Sid Crosby. Like that was fun, no question about it. And then the third goal, Geekie scoops it up on a turnover at the blue line on the left side, speeds down the ice, feeds Hagel, who feeds Sorelli right back to Geekie for the open net. Just an absolutely beautiful tic-tac-toe. And 5.5 minutes in, it's 3-0 Lightning. And the Avalanche are just stunned. Now, from there, they hang on, get an empty netter to win 5. Was it 5-2 or 5-3? 5-2. 5-2. They get an empty netter, and Vasi makes 33 saves. And I'm going to tell you, he was under duress. The Lightning kind of just wanted to protect the lead at that point. They took on a lot of what Colorado. By the way, Makar is just unbelievable. Like if we didn't know this, he's so good. And he got so many grade A chances last night. I think he got one by him, one slapper from the top that Vasi was screened on and never saw. But other than that, Vasi was freaking vintage Vasi. He was fantastic last night.
To your point, I think the Lightning might have gotten altituded in the second half, or at least the third period of that game. That's what I thought. Yeah. I thought they got altituded because I thought I saw they might have only had like one shot or something like in the entire third period. Like it was pretty lopsided. And they were just sort of holding on for dear life. But Vasilevsky, I mean, he was just so locked in. I mean, the amount of saves he was making, and Colorado was doing a really good job of going horizontal and trying to change looks, especially on the power play. They were passing, or like the Lightning's penalty kill right now. It was in a rough spot yesterday, I felt like. I mean, Colorado was looking really, really dangerous as they were just sort of zipping it around. But Vasilevsky made saves when he was called upon. And I thought some of the defensemen that were in front of him were able to get sticks on pucks a lot of times and deflect some of those shots elsewhere away from him. So I thought it was an all-around great job by the defense, a great job by Vasilevsky, because, of course, I mean, as much as we love Nikita Kucherov, Nathan McKinnon, and listen, they're two completely different players, but every time he got the puck, it's just like it's kind of how Matthews made you feel in that playoff series a few years ago. It's like you're just sort of like waiting, like, all right, what's going to happen here? Feels like something bad's about to happen.
Yeah.
But to your point, the start of the game for the Lightning, I tuned in and it was just so quick. It was bang, 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 3-0, just like that. And man, that top line, Kucherov, Point, Gensel. I mean, find me a better line in the National Hockey League right now. Find me a better line. I'm sure there are some other lines that are doing great as well, but getting a chance to watch this one, it feels like every time they're out there, they always get into the offensive zone. It's usually really easy, by the way. And they're zipping it and passing it around like they're on a power play sometimes. Yeah. It's amazing. And the jump, and by the way, Nikita Kucherov is what, 30 years old, 31 years old?
Mm-hmm.
Not sure exactly.
30. Yeah, I think he
Yeah,
just turned 30.
he's not exactly a young buck. Nikita Kucherov looks quicker this year than I've ever seen him.
Yeah.
And dare I say, after he put up 144 points last year, 100 assists, first winger to do that in NHL history, I believe. I somehow feel like his overall game looks like it's somehow gotten better this year. It
I
somehow
agree.
feels like he's just found a way to outdo himself. He's shooting the puck more. He needs to. Braden Point, I mean, you saw what he did on Monday night against Nashville, just totally undressing one of the best D in the league, Roman Josi. Every night he's a highlight reel. And Gensel is starting to score the type of goals he scored in Pittsburgh. It's right around the net. It's nothing flashy. He just works really well with star players. And yeah, that line's humming right now. Even the second line, I think, between Hagel and Cirelli and Geeky, he obviously scored last night. Those guys have some chemistry.
Yep.
So the Lightning have two just great lines right now. They're firing on all cylinders. Their 5-on-5 play has been great. Their goal prevention last year, 3.21 goals against. This year, it's down to 2.8. That's in the top 8 in the entire NHL.
How about that?
So their 5-on-5 play has been a lot better. They just got to fix special teams as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, you look at this 7-3 start, 7-3 start, and just look how they're playing. And they'll fix the special teams. Obviously, Stamkos was a huge part of the power play, but there's too much talent on this team to not have a good power play. They'll fix that. And I think the penalty kill will be fine as well.
And they pass it around very well on the power play. I think it's just a matter of getting the open looks.
And getting it in the zone, which they've done better. They struggled with a little bit in the last couple of games. They've done better. I think the special teams will be fine, but you had to improve the 5-on-5 hockey for this team, and I think they've done that tremendously. Now it's obviously an early sample size, but they played a very challenging schedule. And at 7-3, and you go on the road and get a big win over Colorado. Now I know Colorado's beat up, and by the way, Ross Colton has a broken foot now. He was the Avalanche's leading scorer. How about that, Ross Colton? Would you like to have him back? Probably. So he and Miles Wood did not play last night. And the Avalanche were already without our good friend Jonathan Drouin, Gabriel Landeskog, and Arturi Lehkonen. So all those guys were out. So this was a depleted Colorado team, no doubt about that. But still, that's a big 5-2 win on the road at altitude. You take it and you run. And you like the way the Lightning are playing right now. You like the way the Lightning. I don't know if I like the way they defended last night. They gave up a lot of opportunities, and they gave up 35 shots last night. But again, Vasi, we've said this about him, he tends to be better the bigger the shot volume. And the Lightning have done a really good job most of this season of keeping the shot totals down.
Yeah.
Now, recently, teams are starting to get back into the 30s. So, it's still a work in progress. You still have a lot of guys you're trying to figure out and how to work them in. You're still trying to find a little bit more scoring in the bottom end from the bottom 6. But these top 2 lines are just freaking awesome right now, and they're humming. And, Geeky gets another goal, has played tremendously well. When I go back and look at this offseason, and again, the Lightning just absolutely up against the cap for so long. And what Bruce Bob was able to do, I think, is absolutely masterful, because he took, an aging Steven Stamkos and a Mikhail Sergachev, who, I'm just going to say it. I don't think he ever was going to live up to that contract. Is that fair?
No, that's absolutely fair. And I know you were probably going to bring up Moser. And for what it's worth, I know this stat can sometimes be a little misleading. JJ Moser leads the NHL in plus minus right now.
How about that?
With a plus 12. Ryan McDonough was brought in. Guess what? He's 4th in the NHL with a plus 10.
Yeah.
I know that stat can sometimes be misleading, but I think it's pretty noteworthy. The 2 guys you brought in to shore up that defense are sort of doing their part right now.
Yeah. And do you think Mikhail Sergachev was ever going to lead the league in plus minus?
No.
That was not going to happen. So, and he's playing well for Utah, and I think it's a trade that's going to work out for both teams. But to be able to get Connor Geeky, to get a better defenseman at a cheaper price, by the way, a much cheaper price, and get a what could be a future star in this league in Connor Geeky, has all the tools, has the size, and has the edge. I love the edge and the confidence that this kid already plays with. It's extremely noticeable.
Yeah, and think about where we're at too with Connor Geekie. He's 20 years old. We're 10 games into his NHL career. We didn't know if he was going to make the roster coming out of training camp, but he pushed the envelope so well in preseason. He performed so well in preseason that he sort of forced their hand. And then it was like, oh, he's just going to be on the fourth line. He's going to grind away. He's playing on the second line and getting minutes with Cirelli and Hagel. And you can see that they already have a chemistry. So we're 10 games in, and the return on the investment is the Lightning look to have found a top 6 guy who's 20 years old and is only going to get better. And then Moser, who's playing with Hedman and is leading the league in plus minus. How can you argue with what Julien Brisebois has done to this point?
Well, and he was an 11th overall pick, talking about Geekie. So one of the problems I don't know if that's a problem. You won 2 Stanley Cups, so it wasn't a problem. But one of the costs that Brisebois paid to bring in a lot of these guys to fill holes and win Stanley Cups was the fact that they gave away so much draft capital. Now, to be able to get back a first-round pick, an 11th overall pick, and get a better defenseman and free up more money to be able to add Jake Gensel, and let's look at what Gensel has brought to the table so far. And at 29, 5-6 years younger than Steven Stamkos. And I'm not making this about Stamkos. I'm just making this, for those who still lament the fact that Stamkos is not here, Brisebois used that money, the Stamkos money that he would have had to pay or would moving forward, at least what Nashville paid to remake this entire roster. And they'll probably still have a little bit of wiggle room at the deadline to maybe add a piece, in the bottom 6 that could help them get a little bit more depth scoring, which appears to be another bit of a minus for them right now. So I think the Lightning are in great shape. They're playing better than I thought they would early in the season. I thought they would be a 500 team, frankly, for the first couple of months while they figured it out, and then kind of go on a run and get that playoff spot and see where it goes. But to get this kind of start is no,
they're legitimately one of the best teams in hockey right now. Right. Like there's Winnipeg, who's 9-1 and just wiping the floor with everybody right now. But you're right there with the Jerseys of the world and the Floridas and the Vegas. Like, you're right there with them. And by the way, you beat New Jersey, you beat Vegas. So, I mean, for my estimation, the Lightning they're right there as a top 5 team in the entire league at the moment. And you look at the goals they've been able to put up, they're 4th in goals. And like I said, they've only given up 28 this year, which is a bottom. They're in the top 8 in goal prevention this year. So all the things that they sat out to sort of fix in the offseason, it's like, again, the early return on the investment is a double thumbs up right now. And of course, the neutralizer is Andrei Vasilevsky coming off the full off season after the back surgery last year. Just every game he's locked in. And last night, what did it take to beat him? A long shot from the point that got deflected, and then a long shot from the point that had about 3 guys in front of his face.
Right.
That's what it takes to beat Andrei Vasilevsky these days, and that's a big difference.
And I think he's had a couple of bad moments this year. So, but I still think he's working his way back. And last night I thought he was as good as I've seen him back in the day. I mean, that was vintage Vasilevsky. It was fantastic, and that's what I expect to see for the most part. The rest
and
of
they don't win that game without him.
Oh, what?
They don't win the game against Nashville without him. And you could probably find 2 or 3 other examples throughout the season so far where they absolutely do not win without Andrei Vasilevsky. And wasn't that sort of the blueprint?
Of course.
When they were winning Stanley Cups, it was all about that. So
yeah. So that's the blueprint that they're trying to replicate and continue with this core. But we just kind of brush over. Well, Kucherov had another great night. Yeah, every freaking night. This guy is so good. Whether it's and now that he's shooting more, I think the revenge tour of the MVP snub is on, no question. I think he wants to pile up so many points that there's just absolutely no way they can't make him the MVP. As surly as he is with the media at times, and of course they're going to have to kiss some butt, I guess, to get the votes. But whatever, he ain't going to do that. So I'll just put up a ridiculous amount of points, and you have to vote me MVP. Yeah. Good. I like the plan.
Did you see too? I could tell what the broadcast was going for last night when they let in and they were talking about Kucherov and McKinnon in the MVP battle they had last year.
Yeah,
and they put up a stat on the board, and I was like, I didn't even hear about this at all. Like, I didn't know McKinnon had 115 more minutes of ice time last season than Nikita Kucherov did.
I did not know that.
They put that up on the screen, and I was like, that's not like exactly like just a little bit of time. 115 minutes is pretty significant in hockey.
That's what? That's like 115. That's like 6 games worth.
It's a lot of times worth of minutes.
More. Right.
And Nikita Kucherov still had more points than Nathan McKinnon last year and accounted for much more production on the Lightning than McKinnon did. I never
saw that stat last year and all the comparisons for
exactly. They put that out there yesterday on the FanDuel broadcast rather, and I was like, interesting.
Why does he just play that much more per game? I mean,
obviously they're different.
Kucherov missing a lot of games last year, did he?
No, I don't believe so. But I mean, I don't know. Colorado was just counting on him a little bit more in certain situations. I don't know, but okay. I found that fascinating. But of course, then the game started last night, and as I said, McKinnon was dangerous, but Nikita Kucherov, I mean, he literally just iced the game right away.
Yeah, was productive very early on, and that's a great way to win in Colorado. Get an early lead. You don't have to spend as much energy trying to catch up, right? And at altitude. That way you can sit back a little bit more and protect the lead, which is what they did, which is pretty awesome. All right, we'll take our first break. When we come back, Pat Burnham's going to join us. He's sitting in the bullpen right now, so we'll chat with him. All things Florida State football. The question this morning is, how are they going to turn this thing around? Recruiting is just around the corner, always going on, but they'll sign just around the corner. So we'll do that when we come back. Brought to you by the Jeeves Law Group, JEEVESLawgroup.com. Back in 3. Stay with us. We've had a lot of fun with the monthly birthstones, and October is no different, where the birthstones are opal and tourmaline. All the colors of the evening sky are captured in the mysterious shifting hues of opal, and tourmaline has a color palette for every mood. Did you know that opals have been cherished for centuries, associated with royalty and good fortune? Tourmaline was once thought to protect against evil and enhance spiritual connection, adding to its allure. And during the 40th anniversary, you can find a special selection of this precious gemstone, from stunning rings and necklaces to elegant earrings and bracelets. Of course, Steve Weintraub handpicks every piece for its brilliance and quality. The expert staff will help you find the perfect gift, whether it's for a loved one, a special occasion, or a treat for yourself. Visit the Gold and Diamond Source today, where you'll always find the perfect gift. It's more than jewelry, it's love. Hey, it's football season, so we welcome back the FSU Football Report every Monday and Friday on the JP Peterson Show, sponsored by those huge FSU fans at Italiano Insurance. They'll save you money as well. Just do a quick insurance checkup, 813-877-7799. They just saved me $500 on homeowners insurance. Who's doing that? Yeah, they just shopped it around, found a better, cheaper company, and we got a cheaper price. And business insurance. Make sure you're covered or you could lose your personal wealth. That's 813-877-7799. ItalianoInsurance.com. Go Noles.
Hey Tampa Bay sports fans, this is two-time LPGA major champion Jane Geddes here. After winning the US Open and 10 other LPGA events, I wanted to try something completely different. So I came right off the top turnbuckle and landed in the crazy world of WWE. And yes, you heard that right. That's WWE. Working for the Vince McMahon as the VP of Talent Relations for the company. Now, though, I want to work for you. Everything I've done in my life, I've done with incredible passion. And now I've turned my focus to leading the best real estate team in Tampa Bay, the Geddes Gordon Group with Keller Williams in South Tampa. If you're looking for a new home, an investment property, or looking to sell your current home, we will give you major championship level service. When you choose Geddes Gordon Group, you become part of our inner circle, like family. So if you're looking for a few golf tips or a golf course view, we're going to stripe it right down the fairway. Call me at 813-485-6808 or go to gettysgordongroup.com, or again, give me a ring at 813-485-6808.
JP here for Third Generation AC and Plumbing. And Third Generation really says it all, folks. The owner, my friend John Rodriguez, has been in the AC and plumbing business since 1995. They built their business on honest assessments and doing great work on time for a great price. Simple, right? Did you know many AC techs are incentivized on big commissions to sell new AC units, and you might just need a drain cleared? So if you want someone you can trust, that's John Rodriguez in Third Generation Services. Check out the 5-star Google reviews. If you have a plumbing or AC emergency, call 813-961-8024 and a human will answer the phone. That's 813-961-8024 or go to thirdgenerationplumbing.com.
Ciao, Paolo Tini here, owner of Caffè Paradiso, one of South Tampa premier traditional Italian restaurant. We were recently voted number 3 on Open Table list of Tampa Bay's top 10 restaurants. We're very proud of that because we take great care of preparing each dish by hand with homemade sauces, pastas, only the freshest local ingredients. You won't see the big institutional vendor trucks pulling up to our back door. We get our seafood from local vendors. Sometimes I even drive out to Topper Springs and pick out our daily catch right off those boats. So stop by and say hello. Try our traditional lasagna, the fresh veal, some of our signature dishes like capelli al granchio, that is angel hair with lump crab meat, our branzino, that is a sea bass. We're located at 4205 South McDill, and you can make a reservation on Open Table and read all the great reviews. See you soon. Ciao. Grazie.
Let's go. Right now. Back to the show on FanStream.
All right, welcome back to the JP Peterson Show, brought to you by the Jeeves Law Group, JEEVESLawgroup.com. If you have any issues going on with the hurricane with their insurance companies, they can help you with that. Just go to their website, JeevesLawGroup.com, JEEVESLawgroup.com, or if you've been involved in an accident, maybe there's some issues at work, any legal matter whatsoever, they will give you a free case evaluation. That's the Jeeves Law Group, JEEVESLawgroup.com. All right, let's talk some Florida State football. Our FSU report brought to you by the great folks at Italiano Insurance. That means our man, Pat Burnham, is joining us here from Tallahassee of the Osceola and the Rivals Network. What's up, partner? How are you?
Not a whole lot. Do I look as dark to you guys as I do to me?
Yeah, you're looking a little dark today.
Yeah, it must have been the
Where's
tan.
that ring light? Can we get you a ring light? See that?
Maybe I need something. Maybe I need something. The sun's out. It doesn't make any sense. All right, that's fine. I'm not very attractive anyway, so it probably helps your viewers.
We can hear you. That's the best part of it.
That is the best part. Well, listen, I'm just busy planning my victory party for Saturday evening because there's 3 things that are always true. The sun's going to come up in the morning, the moon's going to come out at night, and Florida State beat Mac Brown football teams. So go ahead, book it. We're all going to be.
You said that about Duke too. We always beat Duke.
Well, I didn't. Well, I mean,
did you pick FSU to beat Duke? I think I did.
I'm pretty sure I did, just because I couldn't wrap my head around the fact that they could lose to Duke. There's certain things that don't need.
There's a lot of that going on this year.
But yeah, listen. So Florida State's last ACC game of the year, JP, the first one done with conference play, and I think the ACC's happy about that.
So we're not going to win the ACC this year? It's probably not going to happen? No.
Sounds like it's going to have to take a – well, no.
And neither will Miami, so that'll be my bold prediction.
We'll see. Yeah. That'll be they got some – listen, I wasn't all that jacked up about what I saw from Miami on Saturday against FSU. Of course, I think they just kind of methodically did what they did when you go back and look at the drive charts, and 3 drives over 80 yards and several drives over 5 minutes in length. It was just kind of like Clemson redone. I mean, they beat them the same way. Just, hey, we're going to hand the ball off. We're going to run it through the A and B gap. And if you can stop it, great. If you can't, we'll figure out something else. And nobody ever has to figure out anything else.
Yeah. Yeah, I was watching some of the easy runs and the counter blocking that Miami used, and just to perfection. They're just FSU up front is just too easy to block. They can't get off blocks for the most part, and they're just easy to run against. They're easy to play against. They're not, even with guys coming up from the secondary, Shaheem Brown and other guys. Sometimes they act like they want to tackle, but they really don't. I don't think they really do. No,
it's not. No, they don't. That's lacking for sure, and we've seen it all year. And you can go back and there's a play against Miami where the free safety's got a chance to make a play. Yeah. Takes the bad
hitter on Damian Martinez, and he doesn't ducks his head, falls off in the middle.
It's like a 12-yard, 18-yard touchdown. Yeah, just awful. You can't do that. It's and listen, that just hasn't gotten better. And the worst thing is, Armarian Hampton's getting ready to come to town, and what he likes to do is run the ball through the A and B gap. 68% of his runs go through the A and B gap, and 76% of his 1,006 yards have come running through the A and B gap. And on top of that, North Carolina really likes its tight ends. So linebackers are going to be stressed for Florida State this week because their tight ends, their two tight ends, are the first and third on the team in targets. So, not a ton of play action from this group, but what they do could give FSU problems. And we'll see. Listen, Florida State's got to keep them in third and long because they're not very good at throwing the ball, although they have gotten better. And North Carolina did play their most complete game against Virginia. Now, and you don't know what to make of this North Carolina team. They give up 50 to James Madison in a half, 70 during the game, and then they go and get 10 sacks or something like that against Virginia last week. They got 23% of their total pass pressures for the season in one game against Virginia. That was
weird.
Yeah. So I don't know what to make of this North Carolina team. I mean, which one's going to show up? I listened to Mac Brown talk on Monday at his press conference, and he said, I mean, if you put Mike Norvell's face on him, you would have thought you were listening to our talent's better than our record. That's all we kept on. He kept on doubling down. What we see on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday is not showing up on Saturdays consistently. Same thing we've heard from Mike.
Yes, we have
just about throughout the season. So listen, I think it's going to depend a lot on what North Carolina team ends up getting on that plane and coming down here because they do have some talent. They've got a very good back, but they have not shown up for games this year when you go through their schedule, and they have not played a particularly tough schedule.
I was going to say you've watched we've obviously watched every snap the last few weeks of Brock Glenn and now Luke Kromenhoek, obviously both of them getting mixed in there. Have you been able to see maybe any separation from one to the other or any idea of who you think probably has the higher ceiling at this point as it relates to,
I think everybody says that Luke's got the higher ceiling. He throws a better deep ball, those kind of things. Now, about the only separation I've seen between the two of them is trying to get away from the defensive lines of Miami and Clemson and whoever the hell Florida State's playing because I don't know how you evaluate these kids, those two players, based on what's happening. You go back to that Miami game, guys, and I think the official stat keeper had Miami with like 9 pressures. I don't know what the hell an official pressure is supposed to be, but I would say that was probably if Florida State threw 40 passes. Those kids were harassed 30 times. And the one thing I do know about those two quarterbacks is they're both tough as nails because you'd have to be to play against behind that offensive line. I mean, I don't know how you evaluate them. I mean, seriously, go back and watch the Miami game.
They're under duress as soon as before they hit their back foot. I mean,
it's crazy. And then, they're not allowing those two kids to get the ball in Lawrence Toafili's hands, which is ridiculous. I don't know if you guys saw Takeaway Tuesday, but I think he touched the ball on 18% of his snaps against Miami, and he's your best player, and he only played 37 of 60-something snaps. So, listen, it's just – it's
and that's without Cam in the game.
Cam Davis didn't even play,
Yeah, well, that's without Cam in the game, and Lawrence actually played more the week before against Duke, 45 snaps percentage-wise with Cam. So, although he was missing for a huge chunk of time. So, listen, this team on offense is, as what we know, is not very talented, and on top of that, the coaches are not utilizing the players that they do have. Listen, the offense has come down to the quarterbacks running for their lives. The best play in the Miami game was a tush push that was designed to go 2 to 3 yards, ends up going for 42. The longest run of the season.
Wait a minute, but I don't think you characterized that correctly, Pat. It was a tush push where the center did not know the snap count and snapped it early.
He dropped the ball.
He dropped the ball, totally confused the defense.
Yes.
And luckily the quarterback was smart enough to keep running, and the running back said, well, I'm supposed to push
Sam Singleton. Yeah.
I'm like, what an abject disaster that was. It turned into their best play of the night, and that pretty much sums it up for FSU.
Yeah, listen, I think we're all to be honest with you, I think we're all ready for this season just to be over. See what on and wake up on December 29th and see who's left on this roster after the portal, who's added to the roster by the time the semester starts, and what changes Mike makes on the staff.
Yeah.
Well, you mentioned that, and I was going to go there next because Mike, it seemed like he opened up a little bit more in his press availability. Was it Monday or Tuesday rather?
Yep.
And he had the quote where it's like, "Come December, we have a plan." And I don't know how you interpreted that, but at least I interpreted that he's already figured. He obviously says, "I have a plan." That means he's figured this all out. Like, you have to expect there's got to be turnover on this staff coming, turnover on this roster coming, because I mean, right now it's like if they don't win this game, they're gonna finish the season with 2 wins and be 2-10. And how do we get? And again, we're all just questioning how in the world we got here.
Well, listen, I think he's got a plan. Does that plan include all the answers? I don't know that. I think he's building the plan as he goes. I do think that he is, to your point, I do think he's probably made some decisions on what he's going to do that Sunday after the Florida game as far as who he's going to retain. And listen, as someone very knowledgeable in the football coaching community told me with the contract that Mike has, he's got some screw you money. I'm going to retain who I want to retain. And I don't, so it'll be interesting to see what he does. You talk to people think it's going to be 2 or 3 coaches, and you talk to other people think it's going to be 6 or 7. I don't know what it's going to be. I know there's going to be changes. There has to be, and probably more so on offense than the other side of the ball, because you can listen. I think the defense looks so much better in comparison to the offense. Sometimes I think we give the defense too much credit, right? Because you can't stop. You 8 games into your season, you can't stop a basic A gap or B gap zone play. I mean, you're getting gashed. But listen, he's going to make changes. I think that I don't think that we necessarily need to talk about who or what. Now I'll do it if you guys want me to, but listen, I think there's going to be multiple changes on this staff. I think the interesting thing is to see who he's going to bring in, because I think everybody just assumes that Mike's going to be here for at least 2 more years. I'm not going to go out on that limb. I think if he has a 6-6 or worse season next year, he's in jeopardy. I think he's got to turn this thing around quick. Now, he has doubled down a couple times this year, and we were 13-1 last year, and we've he started talking about flipping this roster, turning this thing around once already. The issue is you're turning it for the second time in 5 years. Listen, they're going to have to go into the portal heavy. This is not going to get turned around by high school kids. It's hard for a true freshman to come in and play, let alone be a difference maker. And right now you need multiple difference makers. And I've said all along, the next 8 weeks will make or break Mike's long-term future at Florida State. You got to try to come out of this last 4 games at the very least looking like an improving football team, if not getting a win against North Carolina or Florida. Charleston Southern, the game shouldn't count. We want to talk about games that count at Florida State. They're bringing in a team in Charleston Southern that has 63 scholarship players. I think they're an FCS team. Isn't that right?
Yeah.
So, and we want to talk about games that count at Florida State. That game should not count. So really, you've got to have a win against North Carolina, Notre Dame, or Florida to make yourself look like you've improved. If Lagway's still healthy and playing, that'll be difficult against Florida. He looks like he's going to be a good player. I mean, you go into Notre Dame, you got North Carolina that can run the ball. And then you got an early national signing day on December 4th, only 11 commitments right now. They are bringing in some impressive kids this week, including a couple of Florida commits. And then that portal window opens on December 8th, guys, and closes on December 29th this year, 20 days. So, that 8 weeks to me, JP, is going to determine what happens with this football program in the short term and Mike in the long term.
Yeah. One of the big questions, Pat, and I think at this point of the season we can make these evaluations, is there talent on this team? Are there different makers on this particular team? I don't know if I watch all the FSU games. I don't know recruiting as well as you do. I don't know the pedigree of a lot of these players. And I'm talking about guys, like Lester, who haven't played, that are supposed 5-star players. So is there talent on this roster? Is there something to look forward to next year as a base because clearly there's few talented offensive linemen. I don't see many. The defensive line is, going to be mostly, Marvin Jones is back. I'm not, Peyton's gone. Jackson's gone. Farmer, what's Farmer?
Listen, Jackson and Farmer can both come back, and I don't see how they're going to get drafted high enough that their NIL wouldn't be.
Yeah, that's true. I guess I just assumed that they would play well and move on, but now that's probably.
Are you drafting? If you're a GM, are you drafting either one of those kids after the film they put on?
I'm not drafting Pat Payton either.
No, to be honest with you. So I think there's a chance they're all three could be back. I think. Listen. I agree with you on the defensive backs. They feel like they have some talented young kids in that defensive backs. I was sitting next to one of their staff members yesterday at practice, and he just happened to mention there was a freshman defensive back on scout team, and he wasn't talking necessarily to me. He was just talking to the people standing around there and talking about what a great player that he thought this kid could be. And this guy should know DBs. He played DB at Florida State, and very talented guy in his own right as a football player. And, so I do think there's some of that, JP, but I think the whole thing, let's just say that Peyton and Jackson and Farmer don't go to the NFL. Well, you've got a base.
They could go somewhere else. They could also transfer.
Well, that was the point. We're not really going to know what kind of base this team has until we get to December 29th, and more so when these kids enroll in school for spring semester in January. So there's a lot of questions, and that's why I say, that 20-day window when the portal's open is really going to tell us a lot about who this Florida State team is going to be next year and what Mike's going to have to work with. Because, listen, you've got to retain the players you want to retain. Track players that are going to – listen, the portal has changed, right? I mean, everyone's caught up with it. Florida State, Miami, and Ole Miss are no longer the front runners in the portal. Right. Everybody outside of Clemson has decided they're going to use it, and Clemson's going to use it some. As Dabo said, we just didn't use it. We didn't get the couple, 2 or 3 guys we went after. Right. So Florida State will have to hit it hard in the portal, and they'll have to hit with the guys they bring in, which they did not do this offseason. So,
but they've done before. The 2 years prior, they have
done it before. But again, I think that it would be foolish to think. Maybe foolish is not the right word. I think you've got to temper your expectations, JP, because you're going to be coming off, as Nick said, potentially a 2-win season, and the portal has changed, right? And then there's the caveat, and Fish and I talked about this on our Tuesday show. What is going on with the NIL money right now, right? It's because, I've talked to our publisher, Jerry Cutts, who thinks that, because of the season, the money's not flowing in like it usually does. So, I think there's a lot of variables here. And then, of course, when do the staff changes take place and who's evaluating the kids that are in the portal? Now, we know a lot of this portal stuff is already going on, right? So let's not kid ourselves in that Team A has not talked to kids from Team B and C and D and E, and that's happening everywhere. This whole thing with we're waiting until they announce, we know that's not true. So, but let's assume that there are some kids that enter the portal that they haven't talked to. Well, who's evaluating those kids because of this changes? So I think this is going to be a very frenetic time for Mike, and I think there's a lot of unknowns and a lot of gray areas in this.
Well, you said temper your expectations, and I guess the part that makes it almost hard to do that is, we're talking about Florida State here. This is supposed to be one of the biggest brands in college football and a place that should be on top more often than not. It hasn't been for most of the time over the last 7-8 years. We know that. But even this season, I guess it's hard to watch. Like look at Indiana, for example. They bring in Kirk Cignetti, who has never been a head coach at that level. And immediately, and I know he brought in a lot of his guys from JMU, but, they're sitting at 8-0. You look at BYU was really bad last year in the Big 12, and this year they're undefeated. And even in your own conference, Pitt was terrible last year. Now they're 7-0. I would argue in the modern day of college football, it's never easy necessarily, but it's easier now more than ever to maybe have a more quick turnaround.
Absolutely.
And that's where, like, when you said temper your expectations, that's true. But at the same time, there's so many examples of other places that have done it in 1 year and one offseason, and they don't have nearly the resources you would think that Florida State does.
Well, listen, I'm not saying it can't happen. It very well may happen. I'm just saying that the dynamics of the portal have changed. The dynamics around Florida State have changed. I mean, if you throw out the 2020 season, Florida State's had 2 winning seasons under Mike and 2 losing seasons under Mike. And you talk about Florida State. I'm a Florida State graduate. JP's a Florida State graduate. You're familiar with Florida State program. We look at Florida State maybe different than a kid that was 18 or 19 that started following Florida State in 2015, right? Mm-hmm. When he was nine or so years old. He doesn't have the same reverence for the program that we do. And listen, you talk about Indiana, it's a great story. And, Signetti, he's obviously a really good coach, comes a little bit over the top for me, but he brought 23 of his own guys from JMU. So it's a 1-year bump. And like most programs in the day, and when you start, and I think one of the other programs you talked about that got a new coach, they brought in 21 kids from their previous place. And then BYU's kind of got its own transfer program where these kids go out on missions and come back grown men. And so there's some differences there, but can it happen? Sure, it can happen. I'm just saying that there's a lot going on with this program right now. Including who is going to be here hosting these kids on these visits when they're in the portal. Who else are they being?
It's like, what is FSU selling right now?
Yeah.
Like, what are they selling to these top recruits? I mean, when you go to
– you can come right here and play right now.
Yeah, exactly. You can play right now. What conference are you going to be in? I don't know. What's the long? There's a lot of.
I do think there is some of that, JP, where
the negative recruiting goes on, right? I mean, what are the Gators saying about a guy that's, you said you got a couple of Florida commits coming in. Well, what's FSU selling that Florida doesn't have? It's a tough sell right now. The only thing they have to sell is, well, the brand is still the brand, and the brand is good, and the atmosphere is fantastic, and hopefully the student stadium will be done next year, and it'll be fantastic. And there's a lot to sell this in terms of the brand. I get that, but we know how negative recruiting is, and it's going to be a lot of that. Like, what conference are you playing in? Where are you going? Is your coach going to be there? All that stuff. You won 2 games it's in free fall. All that stuff, that negative recruiting. Now you got to overcome that. How do you do that? What's Mike Norvell saying?
Well, listen, I think I think exactly what you've said. We've done this before. I know how to do this. We came in, we took over a barren roster. Nobody told us we could win. 3 years later, we're winning 10 games. 4 years later, winning 13. Now, I don't know how you explain your way around what happened this year. Listen, parents and players aren't really going to care about whether you missed evaluations in your previous, right? I mean, they're coming because of the opportunity to play. But so you do sell that you can play right away. You can do sell this is a national brand. You do sell that we're going to play on television all the time. All of those things. And then, Mike's got to sell to some extent that, hey, I've got an 8-year contract. I'm not going anywhere. Listen, you can't say that you can't. There's probably going to be very few schools they're recruiting against that are going to have a coach that's under contract through 2028, 2029. I don't know when it runs out. Was further than that if it's 8 years, right? So I think there's some of that. Now, obviously, you mentioned negative recruiting. What they're going to do is, people are recruiting against Florida State. Well, Mike's got to get it done this year. If he didn't have a winning season or go to a bowl, are they really going to hold on to him? So listen, that game's going to be played on both sides. And I think, listen, Mike got a lot of praise when he first got here for being kind of having that evangelist type ability to talk and preach and sell, and he's going to need to do that. And I think listen, and maybe they'll get a bump from if he makes changes, which I think he will on the staff. Maybe they bring in some better recruiters.
Yeah, they have to do that.
And on the recruiting trail, like we know, like the class has sort of started to fall apart here over the last month, which when you put the performance on the field that you've seen, that's bound to happen. But I guess the most pressing part right now, and you could argue it's the most pressing need on the team, is what's happening at the receiver position from a recruiting standpoint. And we know they lost their 3 recruits, like sort of in like a 2-week span, CJ Wiley being the last one to go. And with the guys that are coming in this weekend, I know one of them I'm very familiar with, which is Javon Boggs, because he's committed to UCF. He's UCF's highest recruit. Now, UCF's not exactly a great spot to be at the moment if you're a receiver, because they're like
having some issues over there.
Yeah, might be starting quarterback number 4 in the last 5 weeks this week. Disaster. But what do you think the likelihood is that they could potentially pull speaking to Boggs specifically, or any of the other guys that are going to be here, that the possibility of them maybe flipping some of these dudes?
Well, at receiver, you got Boggs and you got Tayshawn Gelsey from Jacksonville area, who's committed to Florida. I think Tayshawn was initially supposed to take his visit to Florida State the weekend of the Florida game, which I didn't think was a great sign given the fact that he was committed to Florida. I thought he might have been coming just to see Florida. Hey, I'll get a visit while I'm here. But now he's moved that visit up to this weekend. So I think that means that he's probably serious about Florida State coming in for official weekend when Florida's not here. Listen, they're gonna have to get Boggs or Gelsey somehow, and they may have, as Charles Fishbein, one of our recruiting analysts, likes to say, they're gonna have to overpay. And I think to the extent that they can overpay, that's what they're going to have to do. But I think they've got it. Listen, if you don't get Gelsey or Boggs, I don't know if they've got another receiver on the radar, right? I mean,
wow.
Listen, they did not bring in a ton of kids for official visits this week this past summer. And listen, we'll see. Now, there's rumors that they may bring in Dallas Wilson for a visit for the Florida game. He's committed to Oregon, a 4-star kid, 4th-rated receiver in the nation. We'll see if that happens. I have a hard time wrapping my head around that.
Mm-hmm.
He has not been on campus, and I cannot tell you when. So, listen, this is going to be a big –
it's tough to get receivers when you got no set quarterback either.
And listen, so, again even if you get those 2 kids, Nick, are they going to be able to be difference makers as true freshmen? I mean, how many Jeremiah Smiths are truly out there? Akeem Williams was supposed to be a difference maker, and he's going to go into his 3rd year, still haven't living up to his potential. Now, they have not done a great job of developing receivers at Florida State of late.
That's the deal.
Outside of Keon Coleman, and I don't think you count Keon.
No.
Maybe Johnny Wilson. You give him a little bit of credit for Johnny Wilson because he was here multiple years. But I think this is going to be more about for next year. Next year, I think this is more about what wide receivers are in the portal that they can bring into this program, because I don't know. I don't look at any of the receivers on the roster right now and say, boy, I can't wait to see him next year.
Yeah, Hakeem has been a disappointment. He had a chance to make a big play against Miami on that kind of toss-up one-on-one ball, and he just he doesn't even come close. He doesn't even touch the ball. He stops short and jumps and
stops short in a Seinfeld episode.
Stop short. That's my move. That's the stop short move. You haven't seen it, sorry. I mean, that's a play. It's like be an athlete, make a play. Play. Go up and get it and run to the end zone. There's nobody around you.
And that is just one of the handful of plays in any one game that you can watch and go, holy, what is going on around here? I mean, again,
drop passes alone.
Right. I mean, and he did not look athletic at all. That play.
He didn't.
But you've got to make that play. And listen, maybe the lights.
You're one-on-one. The DB almost fell down.
Yes,
it's a jump ball. It's a punt.
Yeah, the only thing that
the ball, go up and grab it and run to the end zone. Jeez, I mean, seriously, I could do that. That.
The only thing he's lived up to since he got to Florida State was his quote after he came in, where he was like, "Well, I'm not Travis Hunter." That's the only thing I think he's lived up to.
Nailed that one.
Since he's came to Florida State. And I watch him and I start to question. I'm like, is Hakeem Williams ever going to realize his potential here at Florida State? It's listen, I don't know.
And I think some of this is the problem with the new modern era of college football. These kids are blown up with such smoke before they even get on campus.
They do anything.
Yes. I mean, I can remember Akeem in particular, he was running for homecoming king, and the whole staff is retweeting this vote for Akeem thing. I mean, stay out of the high school kids' lives in the hallway. I mean, Jesus. But listen, that kid has been told, he's been told by everybody in the state prior to getting to Florida State that, hey, you're the best receiver in the state of Florida. So these kids start to believe these things as reality, and they think they're just going to show. And I'm not saying, and this is not tied to Akeem. This is tied to the general way recruiting is done. These kids are blown up so much, and they get their ass kissed so much by these coaches and by these boosters and by these recruiting services.
Yeah.
I mean, we're as guilty of it as anything. I mean, as anybody.
Yeah.
I mean, when you are a 16-year-old kid and you've got 100 grown men trying to track you down, it gives you an overinflated sense of self.
Absolutely.
And then you come and you're not held accountable for doing the things you need to do and being put through tough practices and all those things. Listen, I think the way these kids are handled today is so much different than I can remember even just being in football at South Florida just 10 years ago, and then go further back. You didn't get treated like this at all. I don't care where the hell you played. You got recruited, and then you got unrecruited the day you stepped on campus.
Yeah.
I think the problem we got today is these kids get on campus, and because of the portal, you still got to recruit them.
That's right. You can't coach them hard.
Right.
Yeah, you can't. Well, you can.
You can, but you got to be willing to live with the consequences.
Yeah, exactly. And that's where we're at right now. And I think if you're a Florida State person, at least from my vantage point, I do see talent out there. I do see good players, but I see absolutely zero accountability. And
I just don't see people
nobody's coaching
motivated football.
Yeah. They're not motivated. They're not playing, and it doesn't look. And they all look like they're using their high school fundamentals. Nobody's using like tackling, catching the football, like basic delivering the football. So many things that you're supposed to improve on your technique when you get to the next level. Offensive line technique. Jesus Christ. It's god awful watching these kids' footwork and what they're doing. Like it looks to me like they never practice. That's what it looks like on game day. Like they never practice. They're not in intense technique working. And I'm not at practice, so I don't see what they're doing. But what shows up on game day is a lot of slop. It's a lot of slop.
Listen, I said this before. I was at practice yesterday, and about half the practice there was no music, and it was so nice to be able to hear coaches coach, which I've written about it. And I know that all these coaches want to be the cool coach that plays the music at practice, and music practice is fun and all this bullshit. But they didn't have, and I've said before, Florida State, you have teams that can handle that distraction. Now, Mike calls it adversity. He calls it music adversity. I want him to be, whatever. I think that's
adversity.
That's what he calls it, practicing through adversity. Being able to concentrate when there's all kind of noise around you. Whatever. If you want to work on crowd noise, work on it on Thursday and Friday. Coach your players on Tuesday, Wednesday. Let them hear. Yeah. Let the guy on the sideline hear the same coaching point that the guy's making to the free safety or to the quarterback. And so, I think he's made some changes there. It's about the third or fourth time that I can remember where he has done that. And, listen, I maybe too late to help this year. Obviously, the answer to that is yes. But listen, I do think that he's got to be willing to make some changes and do things like that, because to continue to do the same things over and over just because they've worked in the past, things change. You've got to be, when things aren't transferring to the game field on Saturdays, you got to change something about what you're doing Sunday through Friday, how you're coaching, who you're coaching, or the way you're running practice.
Yeah. And the coaching staff overhaul will hopefully change the fortunes of this team. And I think it will. I think you've got a lot of players who've got some natural talent that haven't been held accountable and haven't been coached. And let's hope it makes a difference. And let's hope it's done. I mean, there's a lot of guys on this staff that just their resumes don't stack up. And clearly the production on the field warrants changes.
Yeah, and listen, it's terrible to watch these guys go through this. My father was a college football coach for 52 years, and we moved 7 times in 8 years growing up. some of those by choice, some of those not by choice, and that's tough on a guy as a
family,
trying to make a career in football. It's tough on a family, and but at the end of the day, as my father will tell you, my brother will tell you, and I will tell you, because they've all worked at the major college level in some capacity. It's part of the business. If you don't get it done, they're going to run your butts out of town, whether it's the head coach or the assistant coach or the entire staff. So listen, but obviously, JP, I think we all know that changes are coming and changes are needed.
All right, let's make it happen. Real quick, the quarterback moving forward is just going to be a Brock and Luke shuffle. I'm guessing moving forward, nobody's.
I think the interesting thing to me will be whether you decide to save Luke's red shirt at this point and play him in 2 more games and get him out, and don't waste a year of eligibility on this particular season. Now, there are people that think, well, if he's that great, he's only going to be here for 3 years anyway. Don't redshirt him. Let him play the next 2 and go to the NFL. I think that's very presumptuous.
Yeah,
I've seen. Listen.
Well, he's a freshman, so he's got 4 more years of eligibility left.
Yeah. So listen. If you want to burn it, I'm fine with that. If Luke, listen, that's going to be a decision between Mike and Luke and Luke's family. We'll see what that decision looks like. But until that decision is made, or if it's been made, I think that obviously we'll see both of them for at least 2 more games and possibly for all 4. But I think he's going to go ahead and try to make as much of an evaluation on those 2 kids as he can, and then we'll see what happens from there.
Yeah. All right. Tell everybody how they can get your content there at the Osceola and the Rivals.
Go to theosceola.com or floridastate.rivals.com. We've got our updated visitors list for this weekend as far as an official visit capacity is concerned. And then we'll obviously have our update on some unofficial visits probably tomorrow. I'm getting ready to drop my scouting report. I'm just finishing that up. We also got a story on offensive struggles in FSU's final practice yesterday. Did not have a good one, boys. I was at it. And then Mike Norvell.
Good to know.
Mike Norvell. Well, listen, I don't read too much.
Well, listen, the practices have been good and Saturday sucked. So let's try the opposite now.
And I was getting ready to say that. I can remember growing up and my dad would come home on Wednesday and talk about what a bad practice they had. Then they go out and kick Miami's ass. Yeah, somebody like that. But anyway, but a ton of stuff on there. So go to theosceola.com or floridastate.rivals.com. JP, you joining me at 3 today? Talk a little bit more football?
Yes, I am. And I will also be put me on the official visit list for this week too, because I will.
We will. I heard they're looking for a experienced quarterback that has a
little bit of eligibility left.
Yeah.
I'll send my KA intramural resume. Send it over there to you. Yeah.
All right, boys. Y'all have a good one.
My 38% completion percentage. Thank you. See you.
All right.
That was. If there's any solace I take from that Miami game is that they didn't get beat 50-0 like I thought was extremely possible, but still nothing positive. Nothing positive
for me either, because again, like the recruit I brought up, Javon Boggs, is the one guy that is like holding UCF's class together, and now Florida State is trying to flip him late in this cycle, and I'm like, ugh, like don't do this to me. Why is it got to be Boggs, man?
We can't even out-recruit UCF. Jesus. That's where
you actually can. The Florida State recruiting class, I think, is like outside like the top 40 or something right now. It's really bad. It's really bad.
Dude, how is that possible at FSU?
JP, I told you, even after you had a 10-win season and a 13-win season, they still couldn't even close on National Signing Day for 2 5-star guys who went to Miami and Georgia, and you finished like 15th or something in recruiting. Like that was the first alarming sign. Like even when you're at the highest that you can possibly get, you still can't even recruit to your fullest capability. So what do you think is going to happen now when you have 1 win?
You go back to the Travis Hunter thing, and it's like that was the moment that recruiting stopped at FSU. Like that was the moment. Like
it's a trend now. It's a trend. It's not an anomaly. It's a trend.
Like back in the day, that would never have happened. You know, it just and I don't know what Colorado did NIL wise or whatever.
Well, we know Deion.
At that point.
We know Deion was very influential, and I'm sure what he was telling Travis Hunter at that time.
Well, and I can't say it hasn't worked out for the kid.
No, I mean, hell, he's about to be a top 5 pick.
Yeah, he would have won a national championship with FSU last year. He might have put us over the top.
But could you imagine Travis Hunter playing with this group of people?
Would it make a difference? Probably not.
Like he's playing with the best quarterback in college football and has the ability to play two ways, which not a lot of coaches probably would have been open to. Like I can't say he made the wrong decision, and he's going to make a lot. Didn't. He's making a lot of money, and he's going to make a lot more money in the NFL. So
no, he absolutely made the right decision. There's no question about it. As much as we might hate that, for Florida State, you have to admit it. He made the absolute right decision. And maybe FSU made the wrong decision not hiring Deion Sanders.
That's a loaded question.
I mean, there's still a lot of football left to play, but at this point right now, Colorado's been one of the bigger surprises. And they've got some tougher games ahead, but impressed, extremely impressed. And I think Shedeur is the best quarterback in this draft. I think that's pretty apparent.
I think he's the best quarterback in the country, and for whatever reason, we're not talking about him enough.
Yeah,
I truly everybody's focused on Cam Ward and Dylan Gabriel because they're the best quarterbacks on the best teams. But Shedeur Sanders, in terms of watching it play to play, I don't think there's anybody better than that dude. I
don't either. I mean, he's accuracy, his arm strength, his understanding of the game. I mean, he's a football savant. He really is. He knows what he's doing out there. It's impressive to watch. Now, he's got some good weapons. There's no doubt about it. But he's also, you just watch the talent when he plays. It's eye-opening. There's no question about it. And if because you want to have to separate the hype from what's real. And with Deion, you never know because the hype is just so hype. It's all so hype. But when you actually have some really, really great players, it's not the hype. Those guys are great. They're really, really good. And he may have the best two players in the nation in those two kids. Well, he's got the best quarterback, and then I would say the best overall player in the nation.
Yeah,
in Travis Hunter. I mean, that may not even be debatable for what he's putting up and what he's doing. Unbelievable. All right, we'll take a break. We'll come back on the other side, and we're going to hit a little bit on the World Series. We got to get to the Bucs as well. A big matchup with the Chiefs on Monday night. A lot of interesting storylines in this one. We are brought to you by Bay Area Modern Medical Center, BAMMC.com. Medicine 3.0 is what we like to call it. Stay healthy, be healthy. Don't just go to the doctor when you get sick. Make it a relationship with your doctor that keeps you healthy. It's concierge medicine at its finest. It's Bay Area Modern Medical Center, BAMMC.com. Back in 3. Hey, it's football season, and we welcome back the Gator Report every Monday and Friday, sponsored by the Jeeves Law Group, JEEVES lawgroup.com. Just go to the website. You can contact them through there. Scott Jeeves is a tremendous, aggressive attorney and a big Gator fan, so we appreciate him supporting this show and, of course, your Florida Gators. They are local, they are trusted, and they get results. Whether it's personal injury or anything else, any law matter at all, it's the Jeeves Law Group, JEEVES lawgroup.com. Give them a call. Tell them JP sent you.
All right, this is for all you guys who don't want to go to the gym and do 5,000 crunches. At Bay Area Modern Medical Center, you can get on the new True Body machine where you can reduce fat and tone up your muscle. It's like doing 54,000 crunches in just 15 minutes. Define your body as you see fit. True Body offers personalized muscle stimulation that delivers the equivalent of those 54,000 crunches in just 15 minutes. Just get in touch with them at Bay Area Modern Medical Center, BAMMC.com. Chris Lugo and the team over there will set you up on True Body and get amazing results. Non-invasive with comfortable and little to no pain and zero downtime. You can isolate and target those areas that you want to improve and treat multiple areas simultaneously. It's an amazing machine, so check it out at Bay Area Modern Medical Center, BAMMC.com.
JP here to ask the question, are you planning an event, meeting, or conference? If so, you'll want to call the designers and production professionals at Extravaganza Productions Incorporated. With over 35 years of experience in the events industry, designing and producing every type of small to large event, they can provide a huge resource for design ideas, audio, visual, sound, lighting, decor, and entertainment to turn your event into an incredible experience for the entire audience. Folks, I've worked up close and personal with this group at many national events and Tampa events, and they have unique capabilities that help you save time and money in the planning and execution of your next event. Don't delay. Call these pros today at 813-621-4700 or check out their website at extravaganzaproductions.com. Tell them JP sent you, and they'll provide a free initial consultation for your event. Extravaganza Productions, the best in the business. Golfers, listen up. The hottest new driving range craze has come to Rogers Park in Tampa. The Top Tracer range is now open 10 to 9 p.m. And just like you see on TV, every shot is tracked for yardage and accuracy, giving you immediate feedback. And best of all, you can virtually play the top courses like Pebble Beach or St. Andrews with your buddies. Plus, great food and drink options available in the well-appointed hitting bays. Very comfortable out there. Reservations highly recommended, starting at $25 per hour, including balls. Reserve at rogersparkgolf.net. That's rogersparkgolf.net. See you there.
Let's go. Right now, back to the show on FanStream Sports.
Oh my! I was just watching a reel on X of Ryan Clark dressed up as Bill Belichick.
I saw that. It was funny.
It was actually well done. All right, welcome back to the JP Peterson Show. On this Halloween edition, Nick Geddes officially hates Halloween. Hated it as a child, which I think is very disturbing. Very, very disturbing. Favorite Halloween costumes? Got some thoughts. We're brought to you by the Golden Diamond Source. Go get something for Halloween at the Golden Diamond Source. That's it. That'll scare your significant other or make them very, very happy. That's the other way. They got a new men's department there at the Golden Diamond Source where they have tons of watch. Just looking at all the watches is so cool. I mean, I'm really like, man, I wish that was in my closet. Open up a drawer, you get the watch drawer. Was it Ray Donovan used to have the watch drawer? You'd pull out the drawer and it's all these freaking nice watches. Love that. You can get some of those at the Gold and Diamond Source, folks. Great prices. They've got used ones there, comfortably used ones, and some beautiful new stuff. Whatever you're looking for, and all the different lines are there. The great watches. So head on over to the Gold and Diamond Source. Check it out and tell them JP sent you. All right, we got a football game this weekend, my friend. On Monday night, I guess we should say. Monday Night Football. The Bucs and the Chiefs. The Bucs are 14. I read this right in their release. They're 14-14 on Monday Night Football, which is weird. The fact that they've only played 28 games on Monday Night Football.
I mean, does that surprise you? They went like 13 years without making the playoffs. I don't think they were barely ever on primetime. And that was before they had rules where you had to be. Now everybody gets a primetime game.
Yeah. Interesting. But this rivalry with the Chiefs obviously goes back to the Super Bowl against Andy Reid. Todd Bowles is 1-2. Cup. They've lost the two regular season matchups, but won the big one in the Super Bowl, and that was the terrific game plan that Todd Bowles came up with and executed. But it's funny. I was looking back at that game and I was like, well, the key obviously was the pressure that the Bucs put on in the pressure packages. But look at the talent that they had on that defense, especially in terms of rushing the passer. You had Vita Vea and Ndamukong Suh on the middle. Those two, imagine those two giants pushing the pocket. And then you had JPP and Shaq Barrett in his prime coming off the edge. Then you had the A-gap with Devin White and Levante David. And
a good version of Devin White.
Yeah, the good version of Devin White, who could cover as well. In fact, he had an interception in that game. I mean, that defense was so much more talented than this defense. I'm starting to look at this defense cross-eyed and go, like, where are the playmakers? Where are the playmakers and who are making plays? Certainly, Vita's a great player, and he deserves to be paid every penny. But is he really making a difference these past few weeks when they've averaged giving up 36 points a game? I mean, that's not winning.
Vita Vea, I love Vita Vea. I do. But in terms of the game records at his position inside, you're talking Chris Jones, who we're going to see. You're talking Dexter Lawrence, who might be the front runner for the Defensive Player of the Year award at the defensive tackle position. Like, you're talking about those guys, and Vita's not in that tier. I love Vita Vea, but he's just not in that tier where he's a true game wrecker.
Game wrecker, right.
Like, he'll make impact plays, and he'll have spurts where he can do it, but he's not a true game wrecker, and that's he's just not in that tier. That's not to diminish presence. Him, but he's just not a constant presence.
Yeah. It's a good point. You just, obviously he's not an edge rusher, but, actually I've seen him out on the edge a couple times this year, but he's not an edge rusher. So he's typically, getting double teamed almost every single play. But when he's singled up in pass rush, he gets home. He gets home almost every time. The thing is, you got to have guys that get home off the edge and can bring constant pressure off the edge, that even when they're not getting pressure, they're in the mind of the quarterback. And that's what this team, it's quarterbacks just seem so comfortable back there. And I can't think of any, I go back to the Bo Nix game, so comfortable. Even Kirk Cousins, did they touch him? They got a couple of hits on him, but not much. Not
really. It's like I said, every quarterback that plays the Bucs right now is just they're getting so excited. They're drooling at the matchup because they're probably not going to get hit, and it's going to be middle of the field wide open. It's so easy to play against them. And when you look at the Bucs' current group of pass rushers, I think we thought that Kalijah Kancey coming back into the fold was going to change things. Really hasn't. Yaya Diaby just not getting home. Chris Braswell, there's certainly a curve there that he has to get over. And then Joe Tryon-Shoyinka, after an encouraging start to the season, has gone backwards to nobody's surprise. In that game last week, JP, he didn't even get on the stat sheet. He didn't even get on the stat sheet. Nothing.
That's just can't happen.
He's just out there.
How many plays did he play? Like 52 plays?
Got to be something like him. He's a starting edge rusher for you, outside linebacker.
Yeah. I mean, that's to get no stats. Like, and they still put you out there. Like you can get anybody to play with and get no stats. And I know JTS he drops in coverage sometimes. I just got to have more production. Like that there was a play last week. Was it last week where he's out in the flat and Kirk Cousins floats the ball out there that should be intercepted. And he just like flails at it. Like you're not coordinated enough or athletic enough to go up and get it, affect the ball in some way. It's like he threw it right at him.
Yeah,
and he can't get his hips around. He can't make a play on the ball.
He won't be wearing a Buccaneer uniform next year. There's just no way. Yeah, I mean, you asked like where are the playmakers? Well, the playmaker is supposed to be 31 and 54. 31 has not played well this year. Let's full stop that one right now. 31's not playing well. And Lavonte David at 54 years old. 34 years old. 34 years old, rather.
He looks a little like times.
Lavonte David, I said it on Monday, and it hurts to say it, but father time comes for everybody. And I think it's come for Lavonte David, unfortunately. I'm leaning towards this is probably his last year. I saw Scott Reynolds say something that is interesting, that Lavonte, as a team captain and the longest tenured Buck, he hasn't talked to the media for 2 straight weeks, which is very unlike him.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on. I'm not sure what's going on in his headspace right now, but it just there's something missing. There's a lack of something right now defensively with this group. And Todd Bowles, since he's become a head coach, I think has become a worse defensive coordinator. Mm-hmm. I think that's a true thing. And I think he's still too slow to adapt and make changes where they're necessary. Like even last week, you put Funderburk out there, and okay, you have to start somebody in place of Jamel Dean. You don't really have many options, so Funderburk goes in. Well, Funderburk's getting killed early. He should have been yanked from that game a lot earlier than he did in the third quarter when Josh Hayes stepped up, and Josh Hayes played a pretty solid game back there. Like, it just takes too long. KJ Britt still getting looks, playing every down just about. Not ideal. JJ Russell can't get on the field, and now he talks about, Vi Jones or whatever, which I don't know what that's going to do.
Well, Vi Jones looked good in preseason. He played. I thought he showed some really good instincts, but you never know because they're playing against backups. Those offensive lines that they're playing against. So, but at this point, you got to try somebody different. You got to try somebody different. You got to try something different.
But again, the alarming thing is, it's like I can't help but think that Todd Bowles' defense is almost like reaching the end of its shelf life. Every single transformative or impactful offense has a shelf life. Bruce Arians' offense, it ended in 2022. It was clear to everybody watching that offense was done in 2022. And in 2024, the Todd Bowles defense looks like it's done. And my evidence to that is the guys who are playing on that defense between Lavonte, Vita, JTS, Antoine, Jordan Whitehead, who's back, and some of the other guys, they've been playing 3, 4, 5 years in this system. and you still see coverage bust all over the place. You still see miscommunication or lack of concentration, whatever we're calling it this week.
Yep.
Like that to me is like telling me like, hey, I think this thing has almost come to an end of the Todd Bowles defense at the moment. And that sucks to say, but that's how I feel.
Well, I kind of liken it to what I see at Florida State. I see some good players out there, and it's not working. It's just not working. And so much of it has to do with coaching. And I see, especially from the Bucs end, when you're watching these teams, it looks like a super soft defense. The only time I ever felt like this defense was playing with great energy and hustle and physicality was against Detroit. I mean, that defense, you go turn on that tape and it's like, wow, those guys are flying around. They're making tackles. And
even then, if not for a historic performance inside the red zone, they get blasted in that game. Like, let's just be honest. Like, the Lions did everything they wanted to do offensively. They just got to the red zone and the Bucs made a lot of stands, and credit to them for that. But it's not like they stopped the Lions necessarily.
Right. And I think that's what this defense honestly is predicated on. It's like, we're going to play soft. We're going to keep everything in front. And then when the red zone hits, we're going to make plays and make you kick field goals instead of touchdowns. But we're going to give you as many yards as you want. I hate that.
No, that's not sustainable. It's not sustainable. And I got news for you. With the team that's coming in this week, it's just not a way you can play, especially on the road. And I know everybody's talking about the Chiefs offense. And listen, the Chiefs last year, I said it, I commended them for what they did last year. They sort of changed their identity because they were forced to. They just didn't have the playmakers, and they became a defensive first team. And this year, once again, they are a defensive first team. Steve Spagnuolo is the best defensive coordinator in all of football, and it's amazing the fact that I don't think he wants a head coaching job or nobody wants to hire him, so he's just going to stay in Kansas City for probably the rest of his career. It's a big advantage for them. But the Chiefs offense, if there was ever a week they're going to come alive, JP, I think we know that it's going to be on Monday night in Arrowhead Stadium. Because Patrick Mahomes this year, if you look at even the counting numbers, Patrick Mahomes has 9 interceptions and only 8 touchdowns. Nobody had that coming through 7 games. Quarterback rating is 84.9. It's one of the worst marks in the entire league. Like, Patrick Mahomes is not playing his best football right now. But game by game, Kelsey is starting to come alive again. Mm-hmm. They acquired DeAndre Hopkins. We'll see if Juju plays in this game. Xavier Worthy. Like, there are still guys, Kareem Hunt, obviously, in the running game. Samaje Perine, I'm going to throw him in there because the Bucs have proven they can't stop the running back screen right now. Right. They have guys that can beat you. And right now, the Bucs look like a defense with no answers.
Yeah. And, can they turn it around? Yeah, it's like a week-to-week league, right? It's a week-to-week league. And sometimes Todd comes up with great game plans like he did in the Super Bowl, and you get a dub, and a big dub, and you keep him out of the end zone, and you make Patrick Mahomes look pedestrian at best. But then I looked at the players they had on the field that day, and I'm like, yeah, one thing does not look like the other, and that's this defense does not have that kind of talent.
No, and do you want to guess what's going to happen with Travis Kelce? Ripping up that zone and finding the soft spots where KJ Britt's not, and where the Kayvon Merriweathers of the world and the Jordan Whiteheads of the world. Like, the more I talk about it, the more this is the real scary thing on Halloween, to be fitting. In fact, I think I did want to hit this comment. It was all the way at the top because I'm so proud of our commenters today for this one. Bucs Basement. Happy Halloween, everyone. Friendly reminder, nothing you see today will be more scary than the putrid defense Bowles puts on the field against the Chiefs. Kelce versus Britt, the stuff of nightmares. And then where was the other one at? Yeezy. I'm going trick-or-treating at One Buck Place dressed up as a tight end. Defensive meeting room will be spooked. Solid work right there by you two gentlemen.
Excellent stuff, guys. Excellent stuff. Yeah, it's just not the same players. I get that, but you can't be the worst. That's what I'm saying. We're not expecting this to be a top 5 defense, a top 10 Super Bowl defense. We're expecting this to be average.
Yeah, there's enough here to
win games.
There's enough here to be average.
Yeah,
absolutely. But the Bucs are going to have to lean on what they could do offensively. But it's not a great matchup again going against Kansas City and having to rely on your offense.
It's a terrible matchup at this point. All right, we'll take a quick break. When we come back, Eric Erlindson's going to join us. We'll talk some Lightning. Big win last night in Colorado. So much to talk about with this young team that looks great. We're brought to you by the great folks at the Gettis Gordon Real Estate Group. Interest rates have come down. It's time to buy again, folks. So get back in the game with the Geddes Gordon Group. Jane Geddes, one of the best in the business, will help you out. Go to GeddesGordonGroup.com and get their contact information. Back in 3 with Eric Erlinson. Stay with us. JP here for the Jeeves Law Group and my man, Scott Jeeves. If you're going to hire an attorney, do you want some guy looking for a quick settlement and a quick buck, or do you want an attorney with some chops? Scott is a board-certified civil trial lawyer and a certified circuit court mediator. Been practicing in the Tampa Bay area for over 30 years. He is a peer-reviewed AV preeminent-rated civil trial lawyer. They just don't hand out those classifications. He's been the lead class action counsel on many complex consumer protection cases and has handled hundreds of serious personal injury cases. He's dedicated his career to protecting injured victims and is committed to vigorously representing you. We're local, we're trusted, and we get results. Personal injury and personal attention. Call for a free case evaluation. That's 888-9-JEEVES. That's 888-9-JEEVES. The Jeeves Law Group. Getting old is inevitable, but feeling and looking old is avoidable. If you're feeling run down, your workout sucks, or your sexual libido is not what it used to be, check out Bay Area Modern Medical Center. That happened to me a few years ago, and I found out I had the testosterone level of a second-grade girl. That's not good. Our food, environment, and stress can cause your T levels to drop. Bay Area Modern Medical Center can help, and they are different. They offer customized hormone replacement for both men and women. Christopher Lugo and his medical staff can help you restore your energy, your sex drive, and your feelings of well-being. It was a total game changer for me. I have way more energy, lost 30 pounds, and I'm performing better in all areas of my life. Nobody wants to talk about sexual health, but it's key to a balanced life. We offer discreet treatments with real-world results. So if you're suffering from a lack of interest in sex, ED, or lack of sexual stamina, Dr. Lugo and his staff can help. Take your health care to the next level at Bay Area Modern Medical Center, 844-977-3477 or BAMMC.com. JP here to ask the question, are you planning an event, meeting, or conference? If so, you'll want to call the designers and production professionals at Extravaganza Productions Incorporated. With over 35 years of experience in the events industry, designing and producing every type of small to large event, they can provide a huge resource for design ideas, audio, visual, sound, lighting, decor, and entertainment to turn your event into an incredible experience for the entire audience. Folks, I've worked up close and personal with this group at many national events and Tampa events, and they have unique capabilities that help you save time and money in the planning and execution of your next event. Don't delay. Call these pros today at 813-621-4700 or check out their website at extravaganzaproductions.com. Tell them JP sent you, and they'll provide a free initial consultation for your event. Extravaganza Productions, the best in the business. Hey, if you love golf and the new Top Tracer virtual golf experiences that have taken the golf world by storm, well, you're going to love the new Top Tracer range at Rogers Park in Tampa. It combines the fun of competing virtually on the world's greatest courses like Pebble Beach or St. Andrews with an outdoor range experience to track your ball, not just hitting it to that net. I love it. They have great brand new spacious covered bays, huge fans blowing down. It's very enjoyable even when it's hot. So grab your golf buddies. Great price, $25 an hour up to $45 at peak times. Balls are included, and you can also play the new short course for just $9. It's all at rogersparkgolf.net. To reserve a bay, go to rogersparkgolf.net. I'll see you there.
Let's go. Right now, back to the show on FanStream Sports.
All right, welcome back. Let's talk some hockey with the man that's been covering the Bolts for a very long time. The great Eric Erlinson. We go way back to the 04 team, and so much fun back in those days. And now we got another team that's kind of on the rise. It's a different mix, Eric. And after 10 games, this is about as good as I expected them to be. Good morning to you. Happy Halloween. How are you?
Happy Halloween. I'm good. Thanks for having me on as always. Yeah, 7-3 after 10 games. I think you would have sat there and said, yeah, I'll take that, for a team with, a new top four defenseman and, a rookie in net and a top line forward trying to find some chemistry with Braden Point and Nikita Kucherov. And it's been a work in progress. No, there's no doubt about it. There's still some kinks I have to work out. Still too many high danger chances that they're giving up. But I think the one thing that, we've come to count on is Andre Vasilevsky. And, it's amazing. Just over a week ago, he was pulled from a game in Toronto, and you should have seen the comments in my Twitter feed talking about he's washed up, he can't do it anymore, he's old. I'm like, come on, we're going to judge off of one bad night, and we're not used to seeing it. There's no doubt about it. But you're gonna make all these assessments based on one bad night. I mean, if I was judged on bad nights, I'd be out on the street right now. It's just so he was stellar again last night, and since that game in Toronto, he's won 3 of his 4 starts. The only game he's allowed more than 2 goals in was the game against Minnesota, and that was a power play goal that went in against him that ended up being the game-winning goal early in the third period of that game. But his save percentage is about .970 in the 4 games since, including his first shutout. So yeah, there's no doubt that this team is probably exceeded early season expectations so far, and you need that. You need to find ways to get points in games early on when you're still trying to figure things out.
Eric, first off, your son Kevin is killing me on Tuesday nights, continuing to. I mean, I have to be the most penalized player in the entire league.
What did you do to him at soccer practice? This has to be payback.
I think I somehow I feel like Kevin's got it out for me. I mean, and I feel bad because you're in the emotion of playing a game. It's really competitive, and I've let some choice language fly at Kevin a little bit. And at the end of the game, I have to just pat him on the back of the head and be like, "Love you, Kev." But I was called for a phantom elbowing penalty on Tuesday, and I mean, I don't think I touched the guy, but it is what it is.
You did a Payne Durham. You got called for a penalty and you never touched him.
Exactly. It is what it is. But just tell him like just tell him to chill out a little bit on me. I'm like, he's killing me. But
it's one of these deals where, like, when you coach your son, you're harder on him than the other players. It's like everybody knows you guys are old friends, so like I've got to be harder on him and call everything, or people will think I'm not being honest about this. Right? Is that how it's working?
I guess so. I mean, I've been called for high sticking a million times. I mean, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know. But we'll figure it out. We'll
have to review the tape.
Yeah, we got to review the tape for sure. But sticking to the Lightning, I think we've all, we'll get to Gensel, I guess, later, or maybe we could throw him in. But I guess we've been sort of like paying attention to the early returns on the Sergachev trade, and I know Sergachev's playing well. He's getting points. I think he has like 11 points or something, and in Utah. But when you look at J.J. Moser, and I brought this up earlier, I know plus minus can be deceiving sometimes, but for what it's worth, he leads the NHL in plus minus at the moment, playing next to Hedman. I saw him, running the second power play unit a little bit yesterday along with Radish, and then Connor Geekie. For a guy 10 games into his NHL career, I didn't know if we expected him to be playing on the second line and fitting in as well as he did with Hagel and Cirelli. Just talk about those two guys, the early returns on them.
Yeah, let's start with Geekie. I don't know if anybody expected him to be playing here right now, right? I'm pretty sure I was on your show pre-camp or during camp, and we talked about how only one player since 2010, so we'll start with the Steve Yzerman, Julian Brisebois era, that had AHL eligibility, made the jump straight from juniors to the NHL, and that was Braden Point. Guys like Jonathan Drouin and Mikhail Sergachev, they didn't have AHL eligibility, so they made the NHL as 19-year-olds. But, to see Geekie perform the way he did in camp and earn that spot, he's great size. There's no doubt about it, 6'4". You love the size, and, you love the snarl that he has in his game and everything else. So to see him be elevated to go from third line center to third line wing to second line wing in the span of 10 games, really 7 games, because it was the Jersey game that they ended up putting him up there for the first time. You're seeing the not experience as in, added games and everything, but just the Connor Geekie experience, right? Like, he's big. He can, I've seen him pull away from a couple of guys with a straight ahead speed that I didn't know he had. Night. Yeah, I didn't know he had it. So you're seeing that. You're seeing the skill that he has, his ability to be around the net. He's physical. Like, you just love a lot of the things that Connor Geekie does. And you forget that he's 20 years old and he's never played in the NHL. In fact, the only pro experience, he had a couple of games with Tucson in the AHL last year. That was his only pro experience. So for him to make that jump, it's rare in this organization in the past decade plus. So he's been a great addition. And if he can continue to play this way, they've been looking for that second line wing spot for a while.
Yeah.
So if he solved that really unlocks, I think, a lot of what the Lightning can do with their line combinations and, move Nick Paul into that third line center spot. As far as Moser, these players that are in the Western Conference that you just don't get a chance to see very often.
Mm-hmm.
When you start to see them up front or up close and watch how they perform, you understand the type of player that he is. And he's just a smart player. He understands his positioning, and it's been an adjustment for him. He's playing on the right side primarily with Victor Hedman. He didn't play the right hardly at all last year. He did about half the time his first full year in Arizona. So he's still getting used to playing on the right side on a consistent basis here, and he's doing it obviously with a great partner. But not just his ability to read the play coming at him and be in the right positions. I mean, how many times – and I listen to the radio broadcast quite a bit, being on the radio team. You hear Dave Mishkin say, "What a play by Moser! Yeah. What a defensive play by Moser!" We've heard that, a handful of times already here in the early going, and then the plays that he can make. His first goal that he scored, I forget. I don't know if it was a Vancouver game or the Vegas game, where he was up on the play, and basically he was behind the defense and scored his first goal with Tampa Bay. Just so impressed with the way that he's come in and fit in with this team. And as much as we loved Mikhail Sergachev, to free up the cap space and bring in these two players, and clearing the cap space also helped bring in Jake Gensel. We'll get into that in a second.
Yep.
I mean, what a trade. What a trade that Julian Brisebois pulled off, sending a popular player and a very good player. But they understand how to free up cap space to get those two guys that are contributing. Just fantastic. And then, Gensel, the big offseason acquisition, biggest name on the free agent market. He looks like he's been here his entire career, the way he's fit in with Kucherov and Point. His understand that goal last night, which, by the way, we call the Sean Bergenheim. If anybody remembers the 2011 playoff series against the Penguins, where Dominic Moore and Sean Bergenheim twice hooked up on very similar plays, where in this case Kucherov going behind the net just kind of flips the puck around the other way, and Gensel is waiting there for it. I don't know if that was a set play.
It looked like it. It looked like it. That wry smile on Gensel's face kind of gave it away afterwards.
Yeah. So obviously they had talked about it. But again, that understanding to have that communication and to see the play develop the way it did. Jake Gensel's going to fit in just fine. His offensive production by the time we get to the end of the season is going to be in line with the expectations. And, you don't replace a Steven Stamkos, obviously, but the production that Gensel's going to bring is going to be similar to what Steven Stamkos brought. So, three big offseason acquisitions paying huge dividends here 10 games through.
Yeah, that goal last night, if you haven't seen it, Gensel got a couple goals last night, but the first one where the drop pass is just right on his stick. And to be able to do that as you're going around the net at a high speed, to put it there with such touch and precision is just ridiculous. And the goalie, Kapkin, it's like looking to his right, waiting for Kucherov to come around the other side. Meanwhile, the puck's in the back of the net on his left. And it's pure. It's great Kucherov. And Kucherov's first goal was a thing of beauty. The shot, was kind of a one hopper that Point gave him right at the top of the circle there. And he freaking just ripped that, ready to go. Had lots of time and space. Thank you, Avalanche D. But that was another spectacular goal. And the third one was spectacular in the passing. I mean, those were three goals that go on the highlight reel for sure.
Well, the first two, what it almost made me think about? How football teams will script their first 10, 15 plays to start a game. It almost felt like the top line in particular scripted those two plays. Okay, if we get an opportunity, let's do this, because they both started similarly, right? The puck's picked up behind the net and off on the rush they go. I don't know if it caught Colorado by surprise or whatever, but I mean, that's what it felt like. It felt like those were designed opportunities, the way things developed and worked. And all three of those goals were 3-on-1. After missing in the game against Nashville, they had 2 3-on-1s where I'm not even sure they got a shot off on goal. To watch that one develop and the execution from Geekie to Hagel to Sorelli back to Geekie, that is perfection when you're on a 3-on-1, and they finish it off. And yeah, 3 goals in 5+ minutes. It's not a bad way to start.
Yeah.
When you talk about Kucherov, we obviously know his brilliance. He's one of those players where what else can you say? But it's somehow weird after having 144 points last year and 100 assists as a winger. Like, I'm watching him do these first 10 games, and maybe I'm a prisoner of the moment, but it somehow feels like, Eric, that in his age 30 season or whatever it is, like, I feel like we're getting the most complete version of him at the moment. The way he's shooting the puck and how just aggressive he is, and when he's on there with that top line, it sometimes feels like they're on a power play when they're just playing straight 5v5 in the zone. I mean, do you get that feeling that the Kucherov we're seeing could be the best version that we've ever seen of him?
Scary thought, isn't it? On Halloween, It's a very scary thought.
Very scary.
Yeah, look, he's always kind of played with a little bit of a chip on his shoulder. He doesn't get this respect nationally that he deserves. If he was Canadian, he'd probably have 3 Hart trophies by now, right? It's just the nature of it, and and the market that he plays in. But he was on pace last year to hit 50 goals. That slowed down as he started to approach 100 assists. He was stopped shooting as much as he was. There was one point, probably about 30 games into the season, he was leading the league in shots on goal, which we're not used to seeing that from him. And look, I think he'll get 50 this year. I think he's going to hit the 50 goal mark this year. I think he understands what that mark means to a player. And, and then look, they need him to shoot a little bit more, especially on the power play. You don't have Stamkos over there for that weapon on the left side of the ice as they try to figure out the power play. So I think he needs to shoot a little bit more on the power play. That will help open up some other areas for him to make some of those passes. But I think after not winning the MVP last year, even though he, by definition of a judge most valuable to their team, being in on more than 50% of your team's goals, and when you're a top 5, top 7 scoring team in the league, and he didn't win it because too many voters felt it was just Nathan McKinnon's year. I think that left an opportunity for him to continue to kind of keep that chip on his shoulder and keep working and crafting his game. And yes, it's again scary to think at the age of 30 we still may not have seen the best of Nikita Kucherov.
And there's no All-Star game this year, so we don't have to worry about any nonsense this year. And obviously, Russia's not playing in that World Cup of Nations, so I think we're clear. I think we're clear this year of Nikita Kucherov somehow turning off voters. So
yes,
and he's got 17 points right now, tied for 5th. Mark Stone leads the league in 19. Makar and McKinnon, who we played last night, are 1-2, 19 and 18 points apiece. I mean, that was a good team that they played last night. I thought it was a tremendous Vasilevsky performance, but getting 3 goals early at altitude is nice.
Oh, yeah.
Because you can sit back a little bit, don't have to chase the game and expend all that energy. So, and having, that Vasilevsky wall behind you is pretty nice. But in general, I thought they played okay defensively. Offensively, obviously, 5 goals will get it done. But defensively, what have you seen overall this year? It's been, I thought, been really good at times. And then, like, even last night, the 35 shots given up and way too many golden opportunities for Colorado. Would you agree?
I think they got hit by the altitude last night as that game went on. I think that adds to it. And, that sequence in the second period where they almost took basically back-to-back penalties and the puck hardly left the zone. Yeah. So it was almost 4 straight minutes of having to defend. And it was the same 4 guys with Cirelli, Hagel, Hedman, and Moser out there killing it. I think that kind of took some wind out of their sails too, because not only are those top guys adding those extra minutes, all of a sudden Kucherov, Point, Gensel, those guys are not getting on the ice.
That's right. Yeah.
So it's kind of a gap there. I think as that game went on, I think you saw the altitude really start to affect them. They're getting better at their rush coverage. That was an issue, early on. Fortunately, didn't see too many. I'm not even sure we saw an odd man rush the other way last night, which is a good sign if they're going to do it. However, I get to sit next to Chief quite a bit and get to hear him talk about the fact of how deep they play in their own zone. They just kind of put up this little bubble, around the middle part of the circles just above the hash marks, and it allows a lot of space outside. So that's how pucks end up staying in zones. You don't have anybody to cover the points when the puck gets free. So, I mean, that's something that they have to get better on for sure. Look, some of the chances last night were just Cale Makar specials. Like he just creates stuff out of nothing. He's just a magical player to watch with what he can do. And look, in Colorado's banged up, right? Ross Colton leads them in goals. He's out 6 to 8 weeks with a broken foot. Miles Wood was hurt last night. Jonathan Drouin continues to be out. So they've got some of their top guys that are out of the lineup, but nobody's going to say, well, we're only going to give you a half point because of that. They just take the 2 points and run. But there's certainly things that they still have to continue to meld and work on and get on the same page again with all these new players. That's why it's so important as you're figuring things out and other teams are figuring things out that you're racking up some points here in the early going, because as the saying goes, you can't win the Stanley Cup in October, but you sure could lose it.
Yeah. And to go back in time real quick to Monday, it felt like if you were in the building, it had to have been even watching it at home, even though it took me a minute to find it because it was not on regular TV. Stupid. Yeah. But it felt like a perfect night if you were a Lightning fan, because the game was great. It was back and forth. The Lightning obviously get an overtime winner, but of course, Steven Stamkos making his return. We saw the video. We saw the chant. Just being in the building. Can you describe the emotion that night had on everyone?
Yeah, that was a special night, as you knew it would. The ovation that he received was exactly what I thought it was going to be. It's one of the loudest moments I've heard, take away the couple of Stanley Cups they've won on home ice, and that's right up there with some of the loudest ovations that we've heard. I think a lot of people wish the video was a little bit longer. I mean, how do you cram everything that Steven Stamkos did in under 2 minutes? And that was key, right, JP, to keep that thing under 2 minutes.
We were like, from the Lightning Vision standpoint, we were trying to balance the time of the video. We could have made a 10-minute video easily. But we wanted time for the fans to cheer and let Stammer, kind of roam around the ice. The NHL, by the way, is like, they are like Nazi-ish as far as timing of games goes and how long your breaks are and when you got to come out on the ice. They fine you if you're not doing it correctly. So you got to strike a balance there. Obviously, they're not going to fine us in a situation like this, but they're constantly hounding teams on how much time they're spending. So we have to be like cognizant of that silliness. I mean, it's at some point you're like, this could literally be a 10-minute video, and it still wouldn't be enough.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, for everything that he did. So, you knew it was going to be emotional when that video played it. What was great was just kind of looking down at the ice. Every single player and every single coach on both teams stopped what they were doing, and they were all looking up at the video. I mean, that's how much of a special person and player that Steven Stamkos was during his time here. And, see him kind of get caught up in the emotion wasn't a surprise to kind of see that. I mean, you don't leave 16 years behind and then see that and not feel a little choked up. But what I thought was great was the unscripted chant breakout of Steven Stamkos' name during the game.
Never seen that of an opposing player ever.
And then when Nashville scores their first goal, the fans are booing or jeering, whatever. They hear Steven Stamkos gets a secondary assist. All of a sudden, it's like a quick uprising in applause, right? And then it was the same on his other assist that actually tied the game. Not too often you're going to hear the opposing team get cheered for scoring the tying goal in the home building. But yeah, it was a special night, and what I took out of it was just how much he was appreciated and admired and loved by the fans and everybody else and everybody in the building that worked with him while he was here. But my best part about it was he didn't close the door on a possible return, right? Like he said, this wasn't a goodbye. This was okay, thank you. I'll see you later. Right? Like that door kind of stayed open a little bit, which is encouraging because I know the whole process wasn't easy for him in how he ended up in Nashville and, whatever bitter feelings there might be towards the organization. And he even said at the time, those will eventually go away and you'll think about the great times that I had. But the fact that he was here and he didn't completely close that door, who knows?
In what capacity? As a player?
I don't know. It's a good question. I mean, he signed a 4-year deal.
Came back, so
and from that organization. So you never know. I mean, you never close the door, and that's just how great Steven is. He didn't
And he's going to live here. I would think. He's going to stay here and live here. Yeah. Although Nashville's a nice town. I would think so. But and I'm glad. It was interesting. Like normally that first break, coaches and players, it's an adjustment time, and the coaches are figuring out what the matchups are going to be. It's a pretty intense coaching time during that first break. But as soon as that first break came and everybody knew the tribute was coming, they all looked up. They all looked straight up. It was funny, like watching both of the coaches and the players. They were just, and the whole time there was just no hockey stuff going on. It was all about Stammer, and it was really cool to see. That was a highlight. I'm glad it's over. I was glad it got it over with, and now you just kind of move on. And this is the reality of the business of hockey. And I think as we sit here today, and I know it's a small sample, I think this is a better team and certainly a better playoff team than the Lightning were last year. They're more balanced 5-on-5. I think they're faster. I think they're better defensively 5-on-5. Again, small sample size, but I think what they were trying to do, and it's, with Steven Stamkos as the centerpiece being moved, they've accomplished. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, now they just got to get their special teams figured out, because their penalty kill, which is primarily the same group as last year, really, and then you've added McDonough and you've just swapped in Gergensons for Tyler Mott in the forward group in terms of your top four PK forward pairs. They've struggled there big time. They need to get that figured out, and they're still trying to figure out the power play. It's you don't lose one of the all-time greats at that spot and not feel the absence. So they're trying to figure that out. It's ironic. They're much better 5-on-5, but now their special teams are in a couple of games. It's hurt them. Right? It's come back to bite them. So,
but they'll figure that out. I mean, with that kind of talent offensively, they're going to figure it out.
And they're still figuring out the personnel, right? Like we saw Darren Radish over there. Now it's Brandon Hagel. Connor Geeky took a spot there last night. So they'll figure that stuff out.
Moving around, which I think is a good idea, actually.
Yeah. So you would think that with the talent, they'll get all that figured out. But, it has been costly in the early going. But the big thing was for them to be better 5-on-5 defensively. And, other than the rush coverage that struggled early, I think they have been better in that area.
All right. Favorite Halloween candy? Do you have a favorite Halloween candy?
Oh, anything Reese's.
Anything Reese's?
And just about anything Reese's.
I think a lot of different Reese's now, which I like, by the way. Everything kind of,
white chocolate. There's caramel.
Yeah.
They get a lot of different Reese's. But it's, the fallback is always peanut butter cups.
Peanut butter cups, yeah. And when you buy the candy, do you buy what you like? Or do you buy what you think the kids will like? Because it's all about me, because I'm going to eat half of it probably. So it's going to be Baby Ruth minis, Twix minis. I'm a big caramel chocolate nougat guy. I think you mix anything like that, I'm good to go. So those are fun. What else? Nick doesn't like Halloween, by the way. Even as a child, didn't like Halloween.
No, I don't like Halloween. And even as you talk about like Reese, I hate peanut butter. Anything Reese's is just completely out for me. I will say, when I did do trick or treating, if you were passing out Almond Joys, you deserve jail time. Jail time. Nobody wants your Almond Joys. Nobody wants that York, I think it's called.
That was always a great piece for me, Almond Joy. And I had friends that loved them, so I was like, okay, if you want Almond Joy, you give me three $100,000 bars, and you could make that deal.
You definitely have to have a strategy involved when you go out to buy it.
Yeah.
Because if you have a light night at the door, then you're stuck with all this.
Right. So you got to get what you like.
Now, my wife teaches, so she can take some of it into her class if we have too much of an excess.
Okay.
But no, there's definitely a strategy involved that, with three boys still at the house here, that if we have a light night and we're left with a lot, you better make sure there's some stuff that will get eaten while we're here. Otherwise, it's going to sit on top of the fridge till next Halloween, and nobody wants that.
What was Eric Erlinson's go-to costume early on, Nick? You want to venture a guess before he answers his go-to costume?
I'm trying to think. I got to go back to what was popular back in the,
gotta be something,
in the 80s here.
Star Wars?
I was going to say, are you a Star Wars guy? Something like that?
I'm going to go Han Solo.
No, not Han Solo.
I don't know Star Wars characters either, so I'm out.
Nick's showing his age again.
Luke?
I had a C-3PO costume.
A C-3PO call. Of course you did.
Yeah.
Very nice. I was a Spider-Man kid. I love the Spider-Man. The whole onesie. I think I wore that till I was about 15. Yeah, I love that. I'm a big Spider-Man fan. That was my go-to. All right, Eric, tell everybody how they can get your great content.
Yeah, you can see the website there down below, my name, lightninginsider.com. You have 2 options to sign up. There's a yearly plan that's $40 that comes out to $3.33 per month, or there's a $4.99 monthly plan as well. And as I say all the time, if you enjoy my interactions here and everywhere else I do, and Twitter and everything else, that's the best way to support the work, is to sign up for a subscription to the site that keeps me relevant and keeps me going. So I stay involved in this game that I've loved for 25 plus years and covered for 25 plus years. It's been a great experience, and I hope to continue to do it. And that's the best way to support it.
It's a must. It's a must-have and a must-do for my man Eric Ergson. Please do it. lightninginsider.com. Thanks, Eric. Appreciate it, buddy. Happy Halloween.
Right. Be well.
Eric's handing out full-size candy bars at his house. That's what I heard. Get over there. All right. I think that's it for today. We've reached the end. I can say no more about my favorite Halloween candy.
Yeah, I guess I'll just put a note, to the World Series from last night.
Oh yeah,
incredible, or I guess wacky. I guess wacky's maybe the way to put it. But the Yankees with the meltdown of one of the biggest World Series meltdowns in a single inning that we've ever seen, and it just sort of encapsulated the Yankees are a sloppy baseball team, and you can't be sloppy against the Los Angeles Dodgers. Can't do it.
Yeah, you pay that much money for these great players, and usually you're playing for offense, and baseball is more than that. You got to play defense, and Aaron Judge blows one, Volpe blows an easy play, and then I guess you don't play Garrett Cole to cover first base, but you still got to cover first base, Garrett Cole.
It was just so weird to happen in real time. And Aaron Boone, by the way, letting his ace be on the mound for over 20 minutes and watching that happen, and not once, a mound visit or anything to sort of slow the game down. The guy was gassed.
Yeah.
It's just terrible managing in the situation.
Yeah, he's a terrible manager. Dave Roberts gets another World Series. I still don't think he's a great manager, but when you got that kind of talent,
it's crazy, and they're going to be better. And Ohtani's pitching next year. Tyler Glasnow is going to be back. They're going to be even better. They're going to be in the sweepstakes for Soto, and why not? If you got the money, go ahead and spend it. That's what the name of the game is.
Right.
Shout out to all the Rays who won World Series yesterday. There were so many of them. Glasnow, Kiermaier goes out on top. Anthony Banda was pitching, and I was like, wait, Anthony Banda is pitching on the Dodgers. Yarbrough's on that team. Fireisen's on that team. Brent Honeywell's on that team, and of course Friedman, Brandon Gomes in the front office. So much Rays presence getting the Super Bowl World Series rings last night. So shout out to them.
Well, that's what happens when you add talent with money and payroll. You win World Series. Shocking. And look at the players that stood out in this series, right? Freddie Freeman makes a little bit of dough. Hey, we were in it for Freddie Freeman. No, you weren't ever.
Mookie Betts.
These are the guys that
Teoscar Hernandez was available for everybody in the offseason and was sitting there forever, and nobody bit. The Dodgers take him in, and he was big time all year long, and he had the big hit last night when they needed it to tie the game in the 5th inning.
Yeah. Bona fide hitters. And now the Rays have what everybody in baseball says is a lights out pitching staff, and they added to it this year with Uceda, and they found a couple more great bullpen arms. This pitching staff is lights freaking out, and you have the worst offense in baseball. Go get some freaking hitters. You got a $45 million payroll. You can afford at least 3 bona fide hitters, and hopefully one of them's a catcher. Go out and make a dent. And stop telling me you're in it for guys. Win it.
Yeah, because I promise you, all the GMs that can spend money, or the ownership people that can spend money, just watch what just happened.
Yeah,
and they realize that, hey, if we're gonna have a shot to knock off this team, we have got to go for it, and that's gonna take a lot of money being spent. So, which is good for the game.
It's good for the game. Absolutely, 100%. Could not agree more. Rick says, "Where is Nick from? No Halloween, no Star Wars, hates peanut butter. What L. Ron Hubbard comedy?"
I'm one of a kind, Rick. I'm one of a kind.
Hubbard comedy, that is outstanding.
I don't even know who Ron Hubbard is, but you know,
Scientology. There you go. The cult of all cults. Yes. Rick says, careful in your neighborhood tonight, JP. Piss off the wrong kid. You may get an Eastern European watch or voodoo from the Caribbean. There's a lot of that going on in this neighborhood. I can tell you that. What other great comments do we have? James is so angry about FSU. So 6 for 14 and 5 for 18 is improved passing. For FSU, it is actually. He actually caught the football some of the time. And James says, how about Cristobal making fun of the Knowles? You would think that it would light a fire under Norvell, and maybe he could change this pathetic offense. You would think he could light a fire, but I think Cristobal, he does not know how to handle success whatsoever. It's all new to him. And, yeah, Miami ain't winning anything. I think Clemson will beat him in the title game. We'll see, though. All right. Thank you, Nick Geddes. Appreciate you. Thanks to Eric Erlinson for joining us here today, and also Pat Burnham from the Osceola. We got Thursday Night Football tonight, Texans and Jets. We can laugh at the Jets some more tonight. That'll be fun for Halloween. We'll see some great Halloween costumes. We'll be back tomorrow morning, and we'll be doing a real deep dive on Chiefs and Bucs. And also Scott Carter will join us from FloridaGators.com to talk about Florida, Georgia, which is coming to Tampa in 2027. We'll see you guys then. Have a great day.